Welcome to episode 680, David Booth, Small Cap Index Fund Billionaire, 12 Lessons. This is an outline of episode 680, lesson 1 to lesson 6. This is an outline of episode 680, lesson 7 to lesson 12. Lesson 1, his funds deliver better and safer services. Better because of lower fees, safer because of risk control over time.
The innovation has to come from better and safer, financial services. That's what will, lift us all up.
Lesson 2, one philosophy, which is efficient market theory, from Professor Eugene Farmer, father of modern finance, whose course he took in 1969.
Sure. This is the 50 years?
Yes.
50 years since
I took Gene Farmer's class.
That's where this all began.
That's where it all began.
Lesson 3, he benefited from the waves of Nobel Prize Academics from the University of Chicago, where he graduated in 1971.
A new way of thinking about finance and investing. We were able to take those ideas and implement them very well.
Professor Eugene Farmer and Professor Myron Scholes. Lesson 4, David Booth's genius. He got the best academics work free for his fund. For example, Myron Scholes.
To come on the board of Dimensional in 1981 as they were starting up. I thought it was a good experiment, but I was skeptical to move forward. And I said, yes, I'll be on your board. And then he said, okay, we don't have any money to pay you. But I said, okay, I'll still be on your board.
Lesson 5, he dropped out of the University of Chicago PhD program because Milton Friedman did not like his paper.
And I thought I had it rigged because I presented this paper in the business school and they loved it and I thought it was pretty good. And, Frank Riley had liked my paper back at KU, so different paper, but Milton hated it. I said, how did I get here? What am I doing here? And, I don't think I'm cut out to be a professor. And so next day, I walked into Farmer's office, told him I was leaving the program. Said, I've had it.
Lesson 6, giving back to the University of Chicago. David Booth is the most generous donor in the history of University of Chicago, given $300 million in 2008.
David Booth. Tonight marks an to support and rename what is now the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. It was and remains the largest gift in the university's history.
It is a gift of humility.
Lesson 7, start small. The year was 1981. David Booth was 35 years old.
The idea was a small company fund, and we went out and tested the idea, and we were able to get a few clients. Obviously, we had no track record. Our first office was my apartment in Brooklyn Heights. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. My brother had been living with me, and he moved out and used that second bedroom as the trading room.
Lesson 8, not too much structure and formalization, because they killed the entrepreneurial spirit.
I was also trying to think of management principles that just kind of learned by experience. I had kind of two that I paid a lot of attention to. One is be wary of too much formalization. You want people to be entrepreneurial, and you put too much structure and too much formality into things, it can be self-defeating.
Lesson 9, comparative advantage.
First one is notion of comparative advantage. Management is to a considerable degree trying to figure out people's comparative advantage. That's about one of the first things they teach you. A classic mistake people make is promoting the best salesman to being the sales manager.
Lesson 10, how to use consumer surplus.
The second thing from basic economics is the notion of consumer surplus. In a voluntary transaction, both sides of a trade have to feel like they got a good deal or there is no transaction. This was important going back to this stressful period of 2008, 2009 again, as we reminded people. I did a video that was widely circulated with our clients talking about markets and how they work. And markets are where buyers and sellers come together, and in a voluntary transaction, both sides have to feel like they got a good deal or they don't trade.
Lesson 11. Keep investing when marginal costs equal to marginal revenue.
A third economic principle that is drilled into you permanently is keep investing until marginal cost equals marginal revenue, right? I mean, I assume they still teach this stuff. I think that a lot, that conflicts, I think, a lot with GAAP accounting, in the sense that, take for example, we have 9 offices around the world, and we look at the profitability of each. So eventually, in the firm, all the costs and all the revenue gets assigned, to each of these offices. So each of them has a measure of profitability. Or you can think.
Lesson 12. Over time, demand curve tend to flat out.
And finally, one of the things in economics is over time, demand curves seem to flatten out. You may have a kink in your demand curve when you start out. You may have a downward sloping demand curve, but over the long haul, we think of economic rents as being competed away. And that's, I use that a lot in pricing, thinking when we come out with a new fund, frequently we could charge much more than we end up charging. But that just invites competitors to come in which case you'd lower your fee. So you're probably better off just coming out with a lower fee to begin with and not encouraging the competition.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your questions and comments below. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.